Got a question asking if a landlord can add an addendum when renewing a lease to basically take back some of the backyard from a tenant for the purpose of building an ADU and then renting that ADU to a different family. Hi, my name is Rob Wells. I'm the Landlord Warrior on TikTok and YouTube. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our videos. Now, I've actually run across this situation before from a landlord, and this landlord probably jumped the gun doing this. But to answer this question here, I think that's a horrible idea. Okay, and here's why. So let's assume for a minute, and let me point this out too. Okay, your mileage is going to vary. This is a highly factual question because the space at issue is not really defined, whether it's a single family residence or it's like a multi-family unit where, like apartments basically, where there may not be yard space with the apartment. But I get the impression from this question that this landlord here is probably renting out a single family residence. There's only one dwelling on the parcel. And what they're trying to do now is, I guess, add in terms to the tenancy to take back some of that backyard to build this ADU. Okay. I think that's a horrible idea. The reason why is in most rental agreements, particularly for like a single family home, it's generally expected, and it's usually in the lease or implied by the lease agreement, that the tenant also gets like the backyards and so forth. I rent out a single family residence with a yard, I get all those items. Okay. Now, this ADU hasn't been constructed, and I think unless landlord and tenant agreed that that the tenant's going to give up the yard or a portion of the yard, that type of deal, I think the landlord may have some legal issues because the tenant has the space. And hypothetically, I guess a landlord could give a change in terms of tenancy to take back the yard as a term to add on to any month-to-month tenancy. However, I just think you're just inviting a legal challenge, a breach of contract or lease type of dispute against the landlord. At this point, I would not probably do something like this. I think there'd be too many legal issues, given the fact that it's assumed that the landlord has given the entire property if it's silent in the lease, because that's what would be the expectation of the rental, like you're renting out this place for X amount of dollars a month and here are the amenities and so forth. Okay. I think the better option is, if you wanted to do this with tenants in possession, you consensually would have to, modify the lease and everyone agree to that, or you basically build the ADU when the single family residence is vacant, right? And then set it up in a way where it's clearly distinguished what's, the ADU is this part, is being rented out, and then the main single family home is being rented out. Okay. We don't even get into the issues of, the Tenants Protection Act and whatnot, because if you add another dwelling to the parcel, you're probably subjecting yourself to just cause eviction. At least for the main home, the ADU might be exempt if it has a certificate of occupancy built within the last 15 years, but it's something that a landlord needs to consider. Okay. These aren't really simple things. And, I just you run the risk of having a legal dispute if you build this ADU with the tenant in possession. I just don't think it's a good idea. So, but you need to consult with your local legal counsel to talk over those issues, because you might have restrictions, or might live in a locality. Your property might be in a locality that's subject to localized eviction control, so they may have their own rules. So you need to consider all that. You should talk to a lawyer if you have any questions about that. Okay. Landlords, if you're contemplating terminating a tenancy to facilitate building an ADU or change the classification of property, and you need to terminate a tenancy and you're in the Northern California area, feel free to reach out. We might be able to help out. Put your comments, questions down below. Try to answer them to the best of my ability. Until next time, folks, I'll talk to you then. Thanks.